Hello everyone, welcome to Fandango Indie Movie Guide. I'm Alicia Malone and this week I have a bunch of smaller movies to tell you about, some that feel particularly important to watch right now, so let's get into it. Let's start with The Salesman, and this film you may have heard about in the last few days because it's directed by Asghar Farhadi. Now the movie just got nominated for a Best Foreign Film Oscar, but because of the new ban on people from certain countries coming to visit the US, it wasn't sure that Asghar would actually be able to travel here to the US for the ceremony. And that is an absolute disgrace and incredibly sad. But just recently, Asghar put out a statement saying that even if he was allowed to come, he actually wouldn't come at all. He's decided not to attend the Oscars at all. So a way that we can support him is by seeing his movie, and it is brilliant.
والا ما نمیدونیم چی شو. یه مرتبه دیدیم از بالا صدای داد و جیغ اومد.
کنم روش منتظر تو بودم. از پشت دست کرد تو موام. من فکرم تویی.
The Salesman shows a marriage between a man and a woman in Iran, and it's a revenge tale of sorts after the wife gets brutally attacked inside their apartment. The husband goes out to try to find who did it. It also shows the everyday life for people living in Iran and the great art scene that exists there. Both the husband and wife, the lead characters Ahmad and Rana, are participating in the local theatre version of The Death of a Salesman, the play by Arthur Miller. And Asghar himself is very inspired by theatre, plus he's just so good at exploring humanity as he's shown in his previous films, The Past and A Separation. And The Salesman is another great example of showing audiences a part of the world that they might not get to experience themselves, and also the real human faces of the people who live there. Right now, The Salesman is only playing in limited theatres in LA, but it'll be expanding soon, so keep a watch for this one, write it down, see The Salesman as soon as you can, and support Asghar Farhadi. The documentary I Am Not Your Negro is equally important to watch right now and extremely powerful.
If any white man in the world says, "Give me liberty or give me death," the entire white world applauds. When a black man says exactly the same thing, he is judged a criminal and treated like one, and everything possible is done to make an example of this bad so there won't be any more like him.
This feels more like a film essay rather than a straight documentary. It uses images and archived clips and narration of author James Baldwin's work just after the deaths of his friends Medgar Evers, Malcolm X, and Martin Luther King Jr. When James Baldwin died in 1987, he left just 30 pages of this book, but director Raoul Peck has imagined what his completed work might feel like. You also get to see Baldwin speak in old clips like his address to Cambridge University, where his fierce intelligence is on full display.
There are days when you wonder what your role is in this country and what your future is in it.
The parallels between the civil rights movement of the 60s and the Black Lives Matter movement right now are impossible to ignore. And it's really only by delving into the past that we can hope to change the future. So please see I Am Not Your Negro if it's playing near you. It'll give you plenty to think about, and it's out in limited theatres this weekend. Another film speaking about race in America, which is out this week, is called Chapter and Verse, and it's the directorial debut of Jamal Joseph. Now he is an impressive man. He's a filmmaker, he's an author, he's a film professor, he's an activist, and he's a former member of the Black Panthers, and he actually went to jail for his involvement with that organization. Chapter and Verse is a very small, low-budget indie which tells the story of an ex-con trying to live a straight and narrow life in Harlem. He comes across a young boy who's starting to get into the gang life and takes him under his wings, but of course it's not so easy to stay straight when you're living in that cycle of violence.
Make recruits prove they was loyal. They was family. A real family don't make you jeopardize your future, know what I mean?
The filmmaking is a bit rough, but it does feel very raw and authentic. I think the fact that Jamal bases it on his own experiences and also the stories of his close friends and family, that does make it feel very truthful. Chapter and Verse is out in New York this week, it's out in LA and Chicago the following week, and then more cities to follow. Another film that I want to mention quickly, if you're in New York, you have to try to see this one. It's called The Lure. This is a Polish mermaid musical, which I saw at Fantastic Fest, and it is just as crazy as that sounds. It's about two mermaids who end up being nightclub singers, but they are very savage mermaids. It's like Hans Christian Andersen fairy tale meets Jack Demy musical meets a Eurovision contest meets gothic music. It's dark and stylish and well worth a watch. Right now, it's only in New York at the IFC Center, but I'm sure it'll be released everywhere else soon, so I will remind you when it comes out further, but remember, The Lure. Sounds weird in my accent. The Lure. On VOD this week is Youth in Oregon. This stars Frank Langella as an old, grumpy, sick man who decides to travel to Oregon to euthanize himself, and Billy Crudup is his son-in-law who's trying to convince him otherwise.
I'm going back to Oregon. I want to die.
What? Jeez, Dad, stop it.
Listen, it's my birthday, honey. I can say what I want.
Go on, honey. Would you pass the bread, please?
The pacing is a bit slow, but Frank Langella and the rest of the cast are great. I mean, Frank could not be bad if he tried.
You got the whole family together in Oregon, where it all started. What now?
Youth in Oregon is out on video on demand, and before I go, I want to mention another film. This is Everything Gigi Gorgeous.
If your parents don't get you, if your friends think you're weird, I love you and I want you to be exactly who you want you to be.
It's a documentary that I saw at Sundance, and it ended up being one of my favorites. It's told by master documentarian, two-time Oscar winner Barbara Kopel, and it tells the story of Gigi Gorgeous, who is a transgender YouTube star. It's expertly put together and really inspiring. I teared up quite a lot watching this film because I cannot imagine what it must be like to not feel like you are the gender that you were born in, and also how incredibly tough it must be to navigate that road. The thing that makes it so inspiring is that Gigi is completely herself, and damn anyone who doesn't agree with her, and it is always so great to see someone living an authentic life. This is Everything Gigi Gorgeous is out in New York and LA this weekend, and then on YouTube Red on February 8th.
I was scared, but I was happy. I was the real me.
Having Gigi happy is way more important than me having old Greg.
So just to recap, my ultimate picks this week would be The Salesman, Am Not Your Negro, and This Is Everything Gigi Gorgeous in theaters. Each of these films speak about an issue that is very important right now, and each of these films are well worth your time and money. I know it's tough when I talk about these films and you can't actually see them, but just try to write them down because hopefully at one point or another you will get to. I'm Alicia Malone. You can follow me on Twitter at Alicia Malone, and I'll see you next week.